cast where we talk about Impact Wrestling and a whole bunch of other stuff unrelated.
We're on the night. You know, I learned from hi everybody, it's Kevin Kellam, Robert DeFelice, Dominic DeAngelo, 4 of us on this podcast. Boss man Bill Pritchard did the intro there.
Yeah.
And I've started to learn new things about the Impact Wrestling theme song, Tuesday nights at AXS. I like the little accents. We're on the night, and they go, we on the night. And there's a guy in the background who's like hype manning the we on the night hook. I was really enjoying how much it reminds me of just like it's the RC Cola version of Limp Bizkit, this theme song. And I mean that in the best of
There's no good way to put that.
Yeah. Or do they by we on the night, do they mean they're vampires? Are
Like,
they vampires?
it does have a vampire vibe to it. Robert DeFelice, does the group that does the Impact Wrestling theme song, are they vampires?
They are not. They are hardworking, royalty-free rap rock artists. You can find the song on Spotify, I know, because it's in a couple playlists of mine. And what they mean by We Own the Night is they literally own the network.
Oh, okay.
They literally own AXS TV.
Yes, they do.
They own the night.
They are the only owner-operator wrestling show that's on air right now. They
Not for long. They better hope NXT stays away from Tuesdays.
That's some heavy symbolism.
Yeah, a lot to get into tonight. We will cover all of this. If you're with us live, go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and do that. It is a busy week for wrestling. Obviously, WWE dominating the week with the Royal Rumble coming up this Sunday. We will have full coverage of that all week long. We will have the Royal Rumble, our annual fast food video game deep fried fracas, is going down. Robert DeFelice is working on creating the combatants for that. He told me today we cannot have the Kool-Aid Man because, Bill, you obviously have told us, very hard to book the Kool-Aid Man. He's kind of out of our budget right now. We've really blown the budget on our 3rd annual Royal Rumble. Am I correct, Bill?
Did they delete the body type in the game?
There's
There's no super heavyweights anymore.
There was a Kool-Aid Man body type?
Like a super duper heavyweight. They used to have like a.
I mean, maybe if we can stretch it, literally, we will try to get the Kool-Aid Man in there.
Yes, the Royal Rumble will be Sunday afternoon, January 31st. We'll be streaming live on YouTube and Facebook for that, probably around 1 p.m. Central if we get all of our ducks in a row. Also, you can win these. Daniel Bryan, WWE Elite Mattel action figure. Roman Reigns. We'll announce the winner of these on our Royal Rumble post show. And for the people who consume our podcasts and our videos and all that stuff, you're getting the heads up about that. We know a bunch of people are going to jump on the train and try and win these action figures. They're not dolls. Don't call them dolls. I had my brother text me the other day. He says, why are you talking about dolls on the internet? I'm not talking about dolls. I'm talking about action figures.
I explained to you very clearly yesterday that you need to let go of this hang up. It's okay.
Listen, they were called dolls all the time for me too. So it's
that's right. I mean, it's 2021. Life is different. Embrace the doll, Kevin.
Mm-hmm. Bill, are these dolls or are they action figures?
They are wrestling collectibles.
There you go. Wow.
I'm staying out of the fight.
Wow.
There we go.
Bill went straight to the money. That's usually my gimmick, but okay. I get it.
I just talked to Matt Cardona, the Michael Jordan of action figure collection. A few things rubbed off, so.
We do have a fresh interview up with Matt Cardona, formerly known as Zack Ryder, about the launch of his upcoming Major Pod Network. And also, he debuted on this week's Impact Wrestling and In-Ring Action. Kind of a surprising match to see him in there in a tag team match. Let's get into all of it. Lot to cover. Trey Miguel is back in Impact Wrestling. The continuing collaboration with them and AEW continues to be quite unique and different than we expected when it started. And a very odd person has been selected by Rich Swann, the Impact World Champion, to challenge for the world title at the upcoming pay-per-view No Surrender on February 13th. And it is Tommy Dreamer. ECW veteran Tommy Dreamer will celebrate his 50th birthday on the 13th of February and challenge for a world title at the same time. This is how they opened the show. Obviously, a bunch of other people came out. But Dom, what did you think of this? This was, if you told me this is how you were opening the show, I wouldn't believe you. And they went with that direction. And it seems like that's the match they're going with now. We could talk about whether or not they're going to get there, not add anyone else to it. But Tommy Dreamer, at 50 years old, will challenge for a world title on pay-per-view.
Listen, I really actually liked it. I thought they started off. Well, they had your conventional way that WWE has done things in a lot of ways when they do multi-man matches. Is they like, hey, one person's coming out, then the next person's coming out to interrupt, then the next person's coming out, and like Dreamer was the first one, so I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's kind of a good idea, and like it's a different match, and it creates a little intrigue. It being his 50th birthday and all that stuff. But then ultimately, like it did switch back around. Like they made you think it was going to be a multi-man match, but then they did go like, nah, it's just going to be Tommy Dreamer. And you know what? I think that's the best route to take for this. It's like a little good teaser. I think they have 2 weeks to build it up to make it kind of intriguing and get the stakes a little bit more heightened too. So hopefully they'll keep up with that. But ultimately, like looking at it, how Bay just fought Swann not too long ago. Moose, I have my feelings about Moose, but there's
we all do.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So you have that, and then like he seemed to make he created the most intriguing matchup, I think, for Swann at this moment in time. And you add that it's his 50th birthday. I think it's I liked it. I like old people and older guys. So
all right, that's number one. That is number one.
No,
you asked me. That is, if you're keeping count, that is our first. You didn't expect something to be taken the wrong way comment of the day.
Well, no, it was fine with like, I like old people. Well, yeah, I hope, and then.
But no, I mean it from a perspective of like veteran athletes. So like, if you know me, I'm always rooting for the older guy. Like I love Tom Brady.
Get out of the bathroom. Come back to your seat. They're having the geriatric rumble. All right.
I feel like this is like going to be the picture of Tom Brady and George Blandon. They're going to be like, he smoked a quart of cigarettes a day. He was a man.
What a guy. Len Dawson smoking a cigarette.
Dominic's walking in the WWE locker room. How come you boys ain't drinking Jack Daniels and playing fucking video games?
I remember when men were men, okay? And Tommy Dreamer is a man. Tommy Dreamer he's so confident in himself. He has a man button. He's rocking this thing at 50, and it's great. And I will say this. Dreamer is the perfect one-off challenger to face Rich Swann. Where's this Moose match? Why have we been building to this for like 8 months? Where is this Moose match?
Bill, that's worth asking. Is we spent weeks. They put Moose into this 6-man match they did at the last pay-per-view, where Swann, Sabin, and then you had Moose replace Alex Shelley, who was pulled off the show for whatever reason, medical, whatever. All right, and Moose is in there. Moose already has a predetermined scenario where he was kind of set to go into the world title picture, walking around with the old TNA belt saying he's world champion. He's not. I mean, that kind of lays it in there. And then they go this direction. Was it a little bit of a swerve to go here? Are they delaying the eventual Moose Swann match? And can Dreamer pull the weight? I'm of the point where it's a surprising thing. I like Tommy Dreamer. He's a character I've had a long investment in as a longtime fan. I think that's a smart move for them to play. He's a name that people still know and still care about. Why divert from Moose here? Why not get on the big Moose money train that some of us are on?
All right, I'm gonna address the elephant in the room.
The Moose in the room.
Tommy Dreamer. Okay, that was like a Bully Ray comment, totally unintentional. But so last night, and I'm going to read the post. I said, the more I think about it, Tommy Dreamer getting a title shot for a birthday present is a rib on all the people complaining about Goldberg and Sting. ... Right? ? I'm sure the match will be good, but the birthday present part makes me think it started as a gag. And I fit all that into one post, and I feel like, a well thought out response needs more than a tweet. And I followed up with comments and kind of fully expected to kind of address it here. And then Tommy reached out to me and kind of explained his side of things. And I was like, I didn't mean anything like malicious about it. I was just thinking like somebody was backstage or they're in a writer's meeting and they're like, did you see on, Goldberg's getting a title shot. Sting's going to wrestle again. Like, Tommy, wouldn't it be funny if wouldn't be funny if we did an old guy title shot? And then somebody was like, actually, you know what? We could do that. And then, there's a lot of layers to it. And I've that was my comment that got taken however you want. But Rich is the one that offered the title shot. Tommy didn't come out and call for it. He didn't even say yes to it.
No.
He never said it. It was just kind of taken out of his hands.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, there's a lot of questions. Is Rich taking Tommy lightly? Is he just coming out and being like, oh yeah, I'm a good guy, babyface champion, and I like DCW, but
is he treating this more like a feel-good exhibition match than a real
is he taking Tommy lightly? Is he kind of just like, oh yeah, whatever, this is like a feel-good moment? Maybe we see him start taking shortcuts. Chris Bay makes a good point. Like, it's his birthday too. He wants the title shot. He took a dig at Tommy being old. He was like, oh yeah, I'm 25 years younger than you. And, on the surface, I said it seems like a rib on the Goldberg Sting haters, but there's certainly plenty of layers here. Like,
no, objectively, that's a fair assessment.
But
the idea of things being so turbulent in 2020, WWE, AEW to even some degree, bringing in Sting, saying, let's bring in these old names to kind of pop the territory, for lack of a phrase.
Pop
right?
the marks, daddy.
Yeah, pop the marks, daddy, as Johnny Swinger would say. So the thing with it is, I at first, when I saw the graphic, I was like, really? Because I didn't watch the show live. I watched it this morning. But then when I watched this segment, I saw it wasn't like Tommy wants to come in and win the title. Tommy wants to do whatever is good for Impact Wrestling. He wants to do what is right for something bigger than himself. He's fighting for things much bigger than his own individual goals. And I think if they get into that, and then Rich Swann says, no, you got to fight for yourself. You've given so much to so many other people. And there's a lot of narratives they can take in this that I could ride with. There was some goofy things with it, like them going backstage, and it felt very, as I mentioned, a lot of the backstage segments feel very glowy when a lot of people are kind of like corny and talking over each other.
Are you talking Glow like the actual TV show?
Yeah,
okay.
It reminds me of Glow sometimes when they're backstage.
I didn't know if you meant like glowy or like in a literal sense.
The lighting.
I mean the corniness of it, but wrestling itself is corny. They get this 8-man match. We can go from kind of beginning to end, and we'll cover everything in between. I enjoyed the 8-man tag. Sometimes these are kind of confusing on TV, and it just seems like everyone kind of gets their stuff in, and then it's a schmoz, right? I like where this went. I like that Trey Miguel was teased as the surprise, and it felt like a big surprise. Tom, what do you think of Trey Miguel's return here on Impact Wrestling?
I was really happy with it, and ultimately, I think it boils down to him coming back. I think as a factor on Impact, if they utilize him right and put him in like a top position, like he could be a top star for them that they can really bank their money and put their money behind, because he's got that single person kind of vibe to him, and he's also got that unique look and the unique ring sense. And he's young, so I think he can just fit right. I was really happy to see him back, because I think ultimately he'll be utilized to his fullest potential. At least I hope so in Impact.
Robert, how can we convince you to dye your hair platinum blonde like one new?
Good God, yes. I am so glad you went right there. You ever go through a really bad breakup and you're just like,
I'm experiencing one at the moment. Thank you.
That's nice.
Like, oh man, I need to change my whole personality. We're gonna see Kevin come in with a blue beard because he needs to change his personality.
There's somebody that already does that.
Trey Miguel totally said, these other guys, they went on to do their own thing. That's not for me. I'm going to come back, but I'm going to do it with blonde hair. I don't know why the blonde, but
Billy Joe Armstrong, Green Day.
I mean, yeah, but
is that speculation or is that confirmed?
He actually made a Green Day reference when he dyed his hair.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, cool.
I
like Green Day. And Trey Miguel
Dom likes men.
Was not
Dom likes older men.
I like old men.
Dom likes old men.
Robert likes Green Day.
Robert DeFelice, his sexual arousal is Green Day. All right. So all right. So we're gonna find out what your kink is before the end of the
show. It's just one of those things. Trey Miguel, he's back. It was not the surprise I thought it would be. I was expecting. I know there's a AAA guy who worked the tapings that I won't say here in case people don't want to be spoiled. I was expecting maybe an AEW guy, maybe Brian Cage, maybe something. And then look, Trey Miguel's back because he didn't get in NXT. Look, he'll do great, but it did fall flat for me.
So you didn't like it, Bill? Where do you stand on Trey Miguel? I mean, there was a talk that he was going to go with his buddies over to WWE NXT that was just bound, or he was going to premiere there as a solo act or something, or he was going to AEW. The speculation was through the roof. They had written him off along with these guys, and now he's back home at Impact.
Yeah, that's kind of what's weighing on me a little bit. Like, everyone speculated on where's he going. Then he didn't show up, and everybody speculated on why he wasn't there. And then Triple H alluded to it. He said, like, I'm not going to address it, but then he kind of did. And even with that, we didn't really have any answers, and I respect their privacy. Like, you know, you ask both sides for a comment, and that was their comment. So it is what it is. And I kind of wonder how he feels about coming back, like whatever the reason was, whether it was he wanted to go to WWE or he wanted to just have some time off and he knew the whole time he was coming back to Impact. Like, I just wonder, and, you know, I'll shoot another shot. Trey Miguel, let's get on an interview. I would like to know your feelings on getting that big send off and how emotional it was, and everybody said goodbye. And then, you know, how do you feel about coming back? Like, what's the range of emotion for you personally? Not doing it without the Rascals, the way it did, like all that. So it's kind of what I thought of, and I liked it. It was a genuine surprise. Nobody knew about it. He came out, and I was like, what? You know, like,
it was well teased.
It was a feel good moment. Like, I kind of thought it was going to be Heath Slater because he was the one on social media like, oh, make sure you watch. So Trey was a great surprise. They pulled it off.
Let me say this too. I think it made sense from a story perspective too, because Rich Swann, when D'Amore presented the door, Rich Swann was like super surprised and happy to see somebody. And like the send off was like the Rascals with Rich Swann. So like from that, even looking back on it, like, oh wow, that totally makes sense. Rich's reaction to all that. So yeah, I liked it a lot. I really did.
If you could take away the farewell, I think it hits a lot better. But the fact that they all had an emotional goodbye, and then it's like,
and it wasn't that long ago. It was just like a few months ago.
Like a month and a half.
Yeah, not even. Yeah.
And it's like, all right, you're clearly the outlier here, but I can get over that because it's Impact, and it's been a pretty good show on Tuesday nights.
Mm-hmm. So Trey Miguel, Willie Mack, who also returned in the opening of the show, and tackled Moose. So I guess we're getting more of Moose and Mack here. Tommy Dreamer and Rich Swann are victorious in this big 8-man match. I enjoyed this. So, like, as I mentioned, I think sometimes these matches are kind of hard to pull off and for everyone to shine. And I've seen matches like this on AEW, maybe even NXT, Raw, or SmackDown that someone gets lost in the mix. I felt no one got lost in the mix in this match and these promos and everything like that. I thought in terms of everyone gets their shine, they got it. And even Ken Shamrock got some afterwards. He was on the losing team. He's still the goon monster of one Sami Callihan, and he flipped out and nearly ripped off a referee's ankle. What do you think of that, Bill?
So again, I made a joke. I was like, this is cool. I was like, oh, is he also getting suspended again? Like, is he going on vacation? Like, I'm like, oh, is this a Brock Lesnar dig? Like, every time Shamrock leaves a taping early, it's like he beats the shit out of an official and gets 30 days suspended. So, I mean, even somebody felt the same. They were like, oh yeah, he's going to get suspended enough times. They're going to start having to call him a part-time wrestler now.
I find it odd that Shamrock is still able to make money off of this 22 years later, but he is still just.
I'm not. I mark for him.
Oh, me, yeah.
Almost the same as I do for Tommy Dreamer. Like, if I'm at a live event and his music hits, or like the Sandman, like almost every single event that I've been to at the 2300 Arena, like I think it's like 5 or 6. Sandman's been at like 5 of them, and every single time I pop just as loud as I did the first time. And it's kind of like, I feel like Shamrock's kind of in that category where I'm always happy to see him, but it's just like how many times are you gonna like have him flip out and get suspended? Like, you know.
Well, see, I think the ECW pop is easier though. I've been in the building when Sandman shows up and everybody's immediately going crazy. A Dreamer always works. no matter how generic the take on Man in the Box is, Dreamer's entrance always hits. Shamrock is different because Shamrock is legitimate and he's a badass. And I'm just surprised that at this stage in the game, he's still just like, yeah, I'll do wrestling and beat up wrestling referees and act as a heater for Sami Callihan.
Yeah, with Shamrock, it's to your point, Robert. Like, he's a physical and legitimate badass. So, like, him showing up and looking the way he does, and I think you just mix in the fact too that he is a legacy star. With he's the one that got me into the Attitude Era was Ken Shamrock. So I'm in the camp with Bill too, where it's like, yeah, I pop for Ken Shamrock whenever. And
also, Ken Shamrock certified to be in the WWE Hall of Fame at some point.
He should be.
Absolutely. He will be. I think he will be. It's just a matter of when. And absolutely agree with that. Other big thing from tonight's show. We had Matt Cardona making a surprise appearance on last week's Impact and debuting in ring this week in a tag team match where he tagged with Josh Alexander against Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. He picks up the win with a surprising Rough Rider. He kind of got springboarded into it. Thought that was kind of neat. Very fun match. Did a back body drop over the top rope. A little bit more acrobatic. Matt Cardona, formerly known as Zack Ryder. And we have an interview up with him that you can check out right now on our podcast feed, on our Facebook and our YouTube. And of course, read about it at WrestleZone.com. Obviously, Bill, you got to talk to Matt Cardona. He definitely seems inspired right now in his current role. And they tease something with him and his former Major Brother partner, his fellow podcaster, Brian Myers, backstage. Are we getting to a singles feud between these two in Impact?
Oh, hold on 1 second, Bill. Kevin just called a back body drop over the top rope acrobatic. What is this, 1985? That's not acrobatic. I mean, I'll put over Matt Cardona all day long. I am from New York.
Oh, come on, DeFelice. I'm sorry. Why don't you go do your handsprings on your trampoline in the back, all right? That's an acrobatic move for a big man.
Acrobatic for Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder's done
It's an acrobatic move for a big muscle-headed guy from Long Island, okay? All right? For a guy who's got that mass and moves that ass, that's pretty acrobatic, all right, Robert?
Either way, Matt Cardona is not signed, as he told Bill Pritchard in an amazing interview. And he's just sort of testing the waters. Got a lot of people just want to feel things out. He doesn't want to commit. Just wants to, enjoy the ride in Impact Wrestling. And of course, he bumps into Brian Myers, who promptly calls him his Janetti. And that popped me. I'm a Myers guy. I'm a Queens guy. I just think Myers is the better one overall. And yeah, excited for this.
Let's talk to Bill, as I was trying to do. Robert interrupting DeFelice. All right, so Bill, what do you say?
Okay, so first off, I like the match. Go check out the interview. It's one of my favorites I've done in a while. He honestly, he seemed like very excited about like the perspective of calling Impact his future home. He told me it's no contract, but we'll see. I would love a feud with them. One of the other things that I asked about was, when he left WWE, he said, like, without a doubt, like, I never want to team with him again. And it was just like they want to do their own thing. Like, it wasn't any shade or anything. Like, they both said they don't want to work together. Mm-hmm. So I said, now you both end up in Impact. You go your separate ways and kind of converge through circumstance. Do you want to, like, has that changed at all? And he said, no, I still have no plans on teaming with him, whether it happens in 5 or 10 years. And, I can't speak for my mindset then. I can only say right now, no plans. And I think so many people want to put them together by association with either the Pod Network or the WWE team, but I would love a feud between them. Like, they're both young, they're still young in their prime, talented. It's going to be for a niche audience, which is like their podcast fans. And then they can, kind of grab in the rest of the Impact crowd and casuals with it. Like, I think it's something to explore.
I think this is a match that would be really the biggest it could be is an Impact. I don't think this would be bigger if they were in another promotion I think they would get lost in the shuffle as kind of journeyman guys. In Impact, I think they stand out, and I think they can get all the story notes they want out of this to be a personal, former friends fighting feud. Right, Robert?
This is a great feud for the X Division title. I mean, I don't know what you call it. They're not X Division guys, but put a mid-card title in there. These two are the guys I will watch wrestle over and over again because they always had the passion for wrestling. And I think if they were coming up now, they would be the biggest indie darlings on all the GCW shows, you know, making the rounds, getting that core fan base. But they grew up in the WWE system, so they're kind of stale in the minds of that audience. And this is a great way to show that, hey, we can still go. Don't write us off just because Stanford did.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, Dom. I don't think you're going to like it. We already mentioned that these are younger guys. They're spry. They have a spry in the step, and you are not feeling it. You like your old guys.
Yeah, I like my old guys. You know, it's a shame they're not like 25 years older or something like that. It'd be a little bit nice.
Zack Ryder's dad will show up in the feud. Don't
Hey, there we go. Okay, that'll lift my spirits. I want Johnny Swinger in that mix. I want him mixing it up with those guys. No, but with honestly, they almost don't. I think. Myers and Cardona don't need a title in a way. Like the feud itself can stand alone, and I think they can make it pretty engaging if they like just play the cards right and like build to it. But like in a nice, easy kind of build. Don't like immediately go right into it like super duper quick. But if you play it over a few weeks, tease these moments of tension and like, you know, animosity towards one another, I think you can really get something going out of it. And yeah, I mean, Cardona looked good. The tag match was quick, but it made sense. Like, you know, he's just back in the mix. So you don't want to like, you know, deliver it all in one foul swoop here. So take your time with it. And it's looking good. And Myers already has a good presence. He's shown that over the course of his Impact. So seeing those two mix it up will be an ultimate payoff, I think, for these.
I do think they are going to take their time with it because Eddie Edwards tried to rip Brian Myers' eye out of his head. I mean, we've seen that enough. Let's leave that in 2020.
That happened here. We have Brian Myers versus Eddie Edwards, and they sold this as these are two solid guys going to have a great match, and they were going back and forth. I like this. They started to work the injury. It was getting technical, and then it stopped being technical when Eddie Edwards tried to pry Brian Myers' eye out of his head. He started to bleed from his forehead. And they said that this is like a character change, like an abrupt character change for Eddie Edwards. Bill, this one caught me off guard.
On brand.
Yeah, this one caught me off guard because
he's hardcore. He's kind of dipped his toe in that pool, so you know, biting someone doesn't really seem that out of place after Barbed Wire Massacre and kind of going extreme himself. But one thing I think is interesting is maybe they go here in the future, but Myers has really, you know, established himself as the most professional wrestler, and he's also in real life a huge ECW mark. So I wonder if this is kind of laying the groundwork for him to, you know, explore another character, maybe a more hardcore character.
Why is Eddie Edwards Tommy Dreamer Jr.? When did that happen? Like, I know
they passed the kendo stick, literally.
I know it's been a while.
I mean,
but he was like the Daniel Bryan guy for a while, was he not? Like,
this is Davey Richards more so, I would think.
Well, Eddie Edwards is right there.
Davey Richards is the Jannetty. Don't forget that.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that's from last night.
Was that a heel turn, do you think, for Eddie Edwards?
Or no, because Brian Myers is a heel.
But here's the thing: I don't know what it was. I didn't have a clear idea what it was. And because I was like, you just in the 5 minutes before you teased something with Cardona, like it was very obvious, it was on the nose, it was all there, and then you go in this completely different direction in the match with Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers just 5 minutes later with one character. So it felt like they zagged when we were already on a certain track. So it just kind of threw me off. Something else I didn't enjoy on tonight's show: Tennille Dashwood and Rosemary. Rosemary is their creepy, works in a haunted house, can cast spells on people character. Hell of an intro. Love the intro. Love the graphics when she comes out.
So if she was in WWE, she'd be jacking off in a basement like Darby Allin.
Wow.
That's what you're trying to say.
Right there.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. All right. And it's ladies, it's jilling. Okay, we have to be inclusive with the language.
Yes. All right, good.
I'm on a line. He said jacking. I'm out of line.
Okay, just go. Just
That
go.
was good. I thought it was very, very thoughtful of you.
Shout out to Starcast for providing that epic Darby Allin interview.
Oh my goodness.
This match was fine. It was a lot of different segments to show, hey, let's do some goofy stuff. I have my personal photographer, Caleb, and I'm going to hit you with our photo bag, and we're going to do this. And it's there, but I don't feel either one of these characters. They feel so gimmick heavy that I don't want to see them go for a title. I don't mind them doing mid-card goofy fun things, right? But they're not elevated. This just kind of sustained them where they are. I didn't feel any progression with it. Dom, what's your take?
Listen, I talked about this in the chat last night when I was covering it, and it just doesn't. It seems like they're not utilizing Tenille Dashwood to her biggest extent. Like, she seems to have such a higher ceiling than what she's being utilized at, and it's kind of a shame. Like, she's very seemed to be positioned in this comedic role where she's not taking herself seriously. And Caleb with a K, I think it's a good aspect of it, but if she was more like legitimized as a wrestler, like making that part of her, I think the character would stand out more and be up there to the level of the Deonna Purrazzo or the Jordynne Grace, or even like Su Yung to that extent too. It's I don't know. It's just, I'm with you, Kev. Like, this kind of just seemed.
It wasn't bad. I'm not saying it was bad, but it definitely felt like you guys are just circling the parking lot here.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's how I feel about it too.
I think we all kind of feel the same way, where she's not being used how we expected, from whether it's, her level of talent, whether it's, you don't like the comedy stuff. But I'll repeat kind of what I said last night. Like, I feel like her absence, it was a personal issue, but they didn't know when they were going to get her back.
Yeah.
They build around this year, like Taya, Tessa, Jordan, Deonna, Kylie Ray to an extent, but they have to move forward. And I feel like once the plans for the names I already mentioned were in place, it's like, okay, well, if Tenille comes back, we think we could use her here, because if you think about it, she's not going to be in all the title programs that we saw this year. And I think she did get a title shot against Jordan, like the second week.
And she took the loss here.
Yeah, she lost. And I don't think, like, I enjoy what she's doing now. I think she's filling a role that they need.
Yeah.
But I also think that they can maybe not dumb it down so much. Like, I think sometimes when you try to do comedy in a mainstream wrestling show, they turn up the comedy in spite of the actual in-ring skill.
Yes.
Like, every time I argue against this, I go back to Santino almost winning the Royal Rumble and the Elimination Chamber match when he almost beat Daniel Bryan, and like how fired up the people got.
Great stuff. Perfect example.
That's what I want. Parity. Any wrestler can win. Any team can win on any given Sunday. That's what they say about football. I think it should be true about wrestling. You could be the funny guy and come off like, a dimwit, but when it comes bell time, like, I think, anybody should be able to win, and hopefully we'll start seeing more of that instead of just comedy 10.
So, Robert, can the Clown still hold a championship belt? Is that what you're saying?
So, I do think, in the way that Bill described it, would be great. It's a great way to use comedy, but wrestling doesn't do that. Wrestling has to dive deep into R-Truth is going to retain by way of birdseed. And, it's like, instead of just making it, hey, they're goofy, but they can also go, which was Colt Cabana's overall goal in comedy wrestling, and he was never able to fully get it off the ground, because once you brand yourself as comedy, you are now slotted into a role. In terms of Tenille, I kind of want to compare her to right? Cardona and Myers, in that she's got the WWE stink on her, so the world dismisses her. Not fair. Not fair at all. She was the other half of the early women's evolution in WWE.
A lot of people forget that. A lot of people forget that.
I don't know how or why you could. Now, again, she went to WWE, did the comedy thing with Santino for a bit, came back, tried to be serious, ultimately got swept under the rug. I think she needs to move beyond what she's doing here to be presented in a serious light. And I'm just going to say it. AEW's got a women's tournament. Throw Tennille Dashwood in there because that's what she needs to be.
I like that idea.
I agree with that idea as well. I agree with that idea for sure. A lot of backstage shenanigans. We talk about goofy things. We're getting more of AC Romero and Larry D. And this tying back to the Who Shot Johnny Bravo, but it was Larry D. But he did it because he was under a spell that Rosemary put on him, and he's going to come back, and Rosemary has Crazy Steve, and Larry D is going to punch Crazy Steve, but he won't punch Rosemary, who cast him under a spell so that he would kill somebody. That's a real thing that happened on a wrestling show.
Like you say that, like
that's a lot to do in one wrestling show, let alone how you just recapped all of that. So there's definitely a lot going on.
Yeah,
Who Shot Bravo?
I thought it was going to be done last week, and it's not. Yeah. So
I was like this weeks ago with this whole angle. You know what I mean?
I don't want it to be done. It's you got Ty got arrested. She's gone. Case closed, so to speak. Let's end it. I don't need to see Larry D slapping Crazy Steve and getting into a feud.
Real quick,
you need to see big men slapping meat.
That's right.
Oh,
you're right.
Jake Something and Joe Doran.
I do want to say, poor
that's a meat slap after the night.
Got punched out like a. Honest to God, Crazy Steve did not deserve that. All he did was try to stand up for Rosemary and just got knocked silly. I felt so bad. But on the whole Taya thing, she better be in that Royal Rumble. She is good enough. Let's pull the trigger. Taya Rumble. Taya's in WWE. I'm hoping for that.
Yeah, I do think she'd be a great surprise at the Royal Rumble for WWE on Sunday. And he did give a hell of a punch. It was a silly. The angle itself is silly, but that punch was nasty. That was a real slide. I don't like people slapping thighs on punches, but if you're gonna do one backstage and that's the only physicality you're doing, I'm okay with that. I'm okay.
Instead of slapping thighs, you're slapping guys.
There you go. And we brought up the meat slapper of the night. I know you like old guys, but I know Bossman Bill likes himself some prime FDA beef clashing in the ring. All right, he likes a good cut of beef, and we got one tonight with the very large Joe Doring versus the very large Jake Something. The continuing angle of the hardcore folks, the hardcore friends of Rhino, who had his ankle and leg broken last week by this group, Violent by Design, and Joe Doring in that representing it. Small, easy, efficient match, and Jake. Unfortunately, he suffers the unfortunate guillotine of his leg inside of a chair this week.
Shout out to Omaha Steaks. I know you guys look for sponsors, affiliates. It would really help us out if we could have a promo code every time we talk about big sweaty men slapping meat. Which is
what's that promo? What's the ideal promo code for us? Meat slaps.
Jesus.
How about WZ slaps?
There you go. So it's very clear to me that they're trying to move towards the Deaners being a tag team and Violent by Design. Jake Something was offered a shirt. I kind of don't like the Deaners. Like I feel like I'm over the fake wrestling relatives. That seems like a thing of an era gone by. So I like Jake Something and Cody Deaner as a team. I just wish it wasn't presented as, well, they are the Deaners because they're cousin Jake and Cody Deaner.
Yeah, I agree. That not that I dislike them and I can ignore that whole fake relatives thing, but I kind of wish they would start calling Jake like either Jake Deaner or Jake Something, like not just cousin Jake.
He's cousin Jake. It's like
give him a little bit more of his own identity, especially if you're gonna do this whole back and forth thing.
I can tell you from this is just a little bit of a bias. I can tell you from doing some backstage things at an independent wrestling show, AEW, working with Jake something, that there's a higher ceiling for him than
you can tell.
is being utilized.
You can tell there is. It's you know, and he lost quick to Joe Doring ultimately. I think this is my big takeaway from this. I think if Impact's going to ride with somebody, you ride with Joe Doring and make him your world champ because he's got that old school look. He's got such a presence, and he's a big dude. And you could like, no offense to Rich Swann.
Also, Dom, something you didn't point out. He's also older than Jake.
Hey, thinking about that. See, that's always subconscious in the back of my head there, Kev.
Mm-hmm.
But but like, no offense to Rich Swann whatsoever, because he's super talented. He's great. But I feel you put him like as somebody to go up against like a Kenny Omega and something. That's like a threat. That's a threat coming. And I just think if they want to ride with somebody, Impact, put their chips behind Joe Doring. That's my thought.
So there's a crap ton of talk about big dudes in wrestling and small dudes in wrestling. And hey, remember when wrestlers looked like wrestlers?
Yeah.
It stands true when you talk about exactly what Dom did, and that's Joe Doring standing next to Rich Swann. Joe Doring looks menacing and fearing, and he looks like a wrestler that will probably, leave you laying in an alley and maybe eat you. It's like maybe eat you. Now, if you do Joe Doring against Kenny Omega, you got AJPW and JPW crossover there. You've got AEW Impact crossover there. There's so much you can do. Joe Doring is money, but so is Eric Young. I think everybody is in this angle except for the positioning of Jake something, and he deserves more as well. Maybe we get that more later.
I think Doring's got a fantastic look. Like
he does.
Admitted from the start, I wasn't too familiar with him because I don't
straight
really
out
know.
of Roadhouse, dude.
Yeah, like,
straight out of like an 80s action movie.
Yes, that like the cowboy hat, the jacket. He's got like the facial expression. He's huge. Like he's a menacing looking dude that you don't want to mess with. And I know like Tyler and like a couple of you guys were like, yeah, he was really big in All Japan, and like he's a talented wrestler. So I hope they really try to push him and make him the star of this whole thing, because Eric Young's already established. I feel like Cody and cousin Jake have a lot more time in the business to kind of not only gel as a team and find their way through this whole thing, but like after Violent by Design is done. But like I feel like do something big with Doring now, because he's just got the right look, and I don't know. There's a terrible conclusion, but I'm all about pushing him. I like what I'm seeing so far.
Before we give our general rating here, and we talk about some other glowing topics in the world of wrestling, the Fire and Flava Festival to celebrate the winning of the Knockouts Tag Team Championships by Tasha and Kiara, and this was teased with some backstage segments, and they had the Swingerellas, and they had a table with empty styrofoam things that it was supposed to be like a Firefest spoof.
How long has it been now? Has it been 3 years? Like 2 years, 3 years?
Since the actual event?
Since the actual Firefest.
I think it's been like 4.
Wow. Okay. So I really think we need to move on here. I'll let it slide.
Yeah, 2017, April 2017.
Kira and Tasha are great. They look great. They're exactly what you want in a women's tag team. Mm-hmm. But we need to not do any more Firefest parodies. In fact, I would like Impact to stop doing the meta stuff altogether. You're in this working agreement with AEW, and their owner comes on TV every week and basically says, you guys are a joke. When are you going to start getting some hits in? Because I got news for you. Gallows and Anderson aren't doing it. Gallows and Anderson are getting hits in for the Bullet Club and the OG Bullet Club thing. That's not an Impact thing. You need to kind of get some of your own stuff in. And in order to do that, you need to be a little more serious. This didn't hit for me.
I'm with you. Like, I thought some of the aspects were very funny, like how they suggested masks because there was a lot of ugly people coming, and then Johnny Bravo was wearing a mask. That shit was funny. But and the fact that they pointed out that there was like, cheese slices with the wrappers still on them and everything. But
it was an SNL sketch that was too long.
It was
this
too
in 3
long,
minutes, it would have been fun.
and it didn't gel well. Like, ultimately, it just felt super awkward, and it was kind of cringe in a lot of ways.
So Mad TV sketch from the dying days. I wouldn't even call it an SNL sketch.
Okay, it was better than that. I remember watching Mad TV like from the start, and it was like, oh yeah, cool. WCW wrestlers are on it, so it gives you an idea. It gives you an idea of how long Mad TV was on, and how, I don't know, I guess low the bar was. That no. This was not a WCW dig. I'm just saying, like, Mad TV at the end was really, really bad.
There was a lot of like, oh yeah, I remember that.
But shout out to El Aso Wipo, the best luchador ever. I liked this. Like,
was he the AAA guy that you were talking about that was supposed to be in this pay-per-view?
No, he was not.
It was Senor Bag of Crap.
Yeah, Senor Bag of Crap and El Aso Wipo. Yeah, someone wrote that down on a page, got paid union rate to do it, and it got on national TV.
I genuinely, I mean, maybe it's like rose-colored glasses or hindsight or whatever, but I thought this one segment was better than most of the stuff AEW did last year, 2 years ago for Fyter Fest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some of their stuff was just really missing the mark.
There are times when people talk about All Elite Wrestling being like the funniest wrestling show, or it has the funniest bits.
Most times it hits. That didn't register for me. Yeah. But I feel like Tasha and Kiera are really they were the right people to do this, even though it's a year or so later. Like, it worked for me. I loved, Matt Stryker helped immensely on commentary. Like, when Alicia's doing the intros, he's like, oh, did you ever think you'd hear a girl from Southeast saying Boricua? And just set the stage for how, like, cheesy it was. And I liked it.
So you liked it. I enjoyed it, but then it just went off the rails just too quickly, and it was just too much. I knew what they were going for, right? I just said, like, if you just would have cut this down, you know what I mean? Like, it would have been better. And of course, we have the tease of Nevaeh and Havoc. Nevaeh, by the way, is heaven spelled backwards. If you don't,
is it? Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And Bill, did you just learn that?
Whoa!
I think I need a moment.
Whoa.
Okay. Cool. I'm gonna let you guys settle that in there.
So the thing is, Bill was 100% right. These are the right girls to do it. I think that's why AEW missed the mark, because Kenny ain't a Firefest guy. Like, they wanted to make it cute, but Kenny's not that guy. And these two are. I think my overall issue is this rotating cast of Wrestle House, guys. That it's like, you don't always need to have them together.
They have a lot of bit players in Impact right now.
And they use them all in the same way, in the same segment. I think you need to start evolving. And because you can only get away with, the pandemic for so long, because WrestleMania 37 is probably going to be the kick of, moving on.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know about that.
All right, so let's go around the horn here, guys. What did you think of the show overall? For me, it's a thumbs up. This is a solid 7 out of 10 for me on the 1 to 10 scale. Really enjoyed it. Thought there was a fun match there with Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers before someone tried to bite their eyes out. Enjoyed Matt Cardona's premiere. Enjoyed Trey Miguel returning to the show, and the continued collaboration with AEW. We don't even touch on that. They're going to build more matches with those guys. But solid 7 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, 7. I think they're a solid show. They're a solid brand. I have my nitpicks, but I'm allowed that. And overall, it's just good to see Impact continuing to thrive.
I'm going to give it like a 7.5. I think I liked.
7.5, dog.
Yeah, I think just the fact that they brought Trey Miguel back, and I think that creates more intrigue. Mixing up Hardy, not that they necessarily wrestled or anything tonight, but you got a lot of characters that you can kind of further establish more, and like back to the Joe Doring point too. I think There's a lot of talents that they do have. I think you position them right way. I'm with Robert on a lot of that aspect of getting rid of a lot of the meta BS going on. But ultimately, like, you're positioning yourself in the right fashion. Just kind of create a further game plan and make the most out of this collaboration with AEW.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Bill?
I'm gonna go 7.5. Normally I would have went with a 7, and I think, you know, actually coming through with the surprise with Trey boosts it up another half a point. I said, you know, it's so hard to not only pull off a surprise in wrestling, but to actually make it like worthy of your expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it delivered. I like the development with Brian Myers and the potential development with Rich Swann, Tommy Dreamer, and Chris Bay. Fire and Flava Fest was entertaining. So, I mean, it's a good thing if they're consistently getting 7s and 7.5s from us. Like, those are still good reviews. And obviously,
yeah, I mean, the
obviously
good stuff on the show.
But,
yeah, the good stuff on the show clearly outweighed the bad, and they're
yeah,
doing.
And it's been consistent. It's, you know, it still is consistent. I used to watch, I would even say, when the Broken Universe started, like, it was always consistent, and then they kind of, you know, faltered for whatever reason, and I think they're back to just putting on consistently good shows.
This feels like they're on the cusp of reaching that level when they were on Destination America, which was still like very solid programming. And that's what they're doing here. That's kind of why I want them to rid themselves of a lot of the goofy, because they're in the middle of a huge opportunity for growth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
You're showcasing talent that normally wouldn't get as much eyes because of that AEW collaboration, and you want to make the most of that, and you want to position the proper stars in that light, because if not, it's going to be a failed and missed opportunity, and we've seen that from Impact, TNA many times before.
Yeah,
Definitely. A lot of people with their takes here chiming in from around
also,
the
no
world.
Don Callis. Can we just take a moment? No Don Callis.
You like Donnie not being on the show, huh?
Talking about
lighting
the
a candle or
hand.
celebrating.
Yeah, talking about the invisible hand, talking about the golden screw job. It felt good to not have that on a wrestling program for a week. Or for not a week, but at least Tuesday night. I'm sure I'll get my fill tonight.
I mean, he's probably still doing stuff. He's the invisible hand.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we know he's
You're not
not
supposed to see him, Robert, or his hand.
I mean, John Cena was on Impact this week.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, about those John Cena rumors. Stop asking us about it. I think I addressed that yesterday. I had people.
What John?
Oh, are you talking about the seemingly confirmed but not really report?
Yes.
There's been a couple of those.
Those are my favorite reports.
CM Punk's favorite number means he teased a Royal Rumble.
Oh my God! That wrestling journalism has a ways to go. I
don't subtweet, but I've realized I'm starting to write articles, and that's like my venting. Like, CM Punk picks his favorite number between 1 and 30. He did not hint at anything else.
It's good little internet pot stirring. I think that's on the surface if you don't read it as what it is. But as we've learned this week, some people just want the headline to tell them everything, and they don't want to read like 300 words. And we're going to be dealing with a lot of wait, I have to do what to keep the WWE Network on my TV when it moves to Peacock? We'll deal with those questions for the next few weeks. When we post the story, read the story, everybody. Just go read the story. That's all we ask.
If you don't, click on it, please. Thanks.
Yeah, leave a comment where you make a brash, conclusive judgment about the article you're commenting on social media, quickly revealing that you did not read the article beyond the headline. So
I don't get paid for clicks, but it would actually help if you clicked on the article, so I don't have to answer and say, read the article and your question is answered in the first or second sentence. Like, stay tuned. We're gonna have a separate video about Peacock.
Yes. Yes, we will continue to cover this story, which I think is probably one of the biggest media moves in wrestling since the launch of the WWE Network is this recent deal by WWE. We'll cover all that. WrestleZone.com. If you haven't done it already, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast feed. You're going to get AEW Dynamite. Dominic does that with his brother Marcus. It focuses exclusively on AEW. We have a show that focuses on the most watched show in professional wrestling, which would be SmackDown, Friday nights on Fox TV. Robert DeFelice covering that with Colin Tessier. And of course, every Wednesday here after Impact, Bossman Pritchard will come down high from the WrestleZone throne, and we'll talk about meat slaps and all the ridiculous things that are going on this week on AXS TV. Hours of free content. I've had someone tell me that we have a Patreon worth of content on our podcast feed for free, plus those interviews with Matt Cardona. Literally, you want to get ready for the Royal Rumble? We got it for you. We're doing Royal Rumble trivia. We have the Royal Yumble on Sunday afternoon. So much fun. It doesn't stop. We have you taken care of, right, Bill?
Absolutely. And let's see. New interview drop while we were on air with the acclaimed Anthony Bowens and Max Caster of AEW. We have some more Best for the Business features coming out. We have 2 more of those. I wrapped it so I can tease it. Chris Jericho new interview coming probably next week. So, and tune in.
There's an IRS interview on there.
Yeah, I love the IRS interview. Got a lot of insight about IRS.
You did not ask the question I wanted you to ask, but that's okay.
What was the question? What was the question, Robert? What was the question that you wanted to bitch about?
Kid he likes more is the
short. I want to know who his favorite son is. That's what I want to know.
And he answered it.
That's a great question to ask a father.
That's a fantastic question.
Dude, Fight TV posted like last week, they're like, what is your favorite era of Chris Jericho? It's just as hard as picking your favorite child. You're going to lose no matter what.
Yeah.
All right. So all of that is in the podcast feed. And of course, more coming with Jericho in there as well. So go subscribe in whatever podcast app you use. We're available on Spotify. We're available on Apple, iHeartRadio. Some people talking to us about Stitcher. We're working on that one as well. And you get these on our Facebook watch page if you want the videos. Another major thing is we're going to be giving away these action figures, these WWE Elite Mattel action figures. We're going to announce those winners on Sunday night during our Royal Rumble post show. All right, there we go. There he is, very handsome Roman Reigns. All right, and keep an eye on that. So for you people that consume our audio and video content, you have a heads up about that. And what will help you know about it is if you turn your notifications on. If you're already following this, turn your notifications on Twitter, turn your notifications on Facebook, follow. You get that extra little step. You know when we go live, and you're going to have the best shot at winning those action figures this week. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Remember, when watching wrestling, whether it's meat slaps, whether it's old guys with a little bit of silver fox around the temples, arousing the eye of Pittsburgh's own Dominic DeAngelo, whether it's the sweet, sweet green of money that allures De Niro, Robert DeFelice.
That's right.
We didn't find out Bill's kink. We didn't find out Bill's weird kink before the end of the show. Maybe it's just getting that Omaha
steak. Stay tuned for next week.
Hey, I tagged Omaha Steaks, so.
Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks. All right. Get in the zone, Omaha Steaks. All right. Come on. Let's do it. Promo code WZ Slaps. WZ Slaps. Let's get it. Let's get that deal. All right. They got a Peacock deal. We just want to sell. We want to sell great quality meats from the heart of America. That's what we want to do. All right. We will be back. Remember, when watching wrestling, Robert, tell them what they're supposed to do.
There's nothing wrong with the Patreon account. Enjoy wrestling.